Hi, I'm Claire, and today I'll be discussing 3 recent reads, all graphic novels. First up, we've got The Prince and The Dressmaker by Jen Wang, then we've got A Sunbeam by Tillie Walden, and finally we have The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag. And funnily enough, all of these are graphic novels that were written and drawn by one single author, which is quite interesting. Now first up, The Prince and The Dressmaker by Jen Wang, I read on SCRIBD, so I don't have a physical copy here, but if you want to check out SCRIBD, they've got a lot of comics that you can just read as e-copies on your computer, so if you're interested in checking that out, I've got a sign-up code in the description box. It's not a sponsorship, it's a code where if you sign up using it, you get some free reading time, and I get some free reading time, so if you're interested in SCRIBD, do consider it. The Prince and the Dressmaker is set in Paris at the dawn of the modern age, and we follow Frances, a young dressmaker who has really ambitious, unconventional, interesting ideas of the dresses that she wants to make. However, she works for a dressmaker's workshop and it's not under her own name. She can't really take a lot of risks, and when she does, she gets in trouble at her job. But she does get noticed also by a mysterious someone who is really interested in her unconventional style and hires her to work for them. This new job starts off being a bit hush-hush. She doesn't know who she's making dresses for, but very soon she learns that she is in fact making dresses for Prince Sebastian, a young nobleman who really likes to wear dresses but has to do so in secret because it's not very becoming of his station or in fact his gender. It is not something that he believes his family or the world around him would understand, so he is trying to do that in secret by dressing up in fantastic dresses at night and going by the pseudonym of Lady Crystalia. But of course, this arrangement where Frances is paid handsomely for making these fabulous fashion-forward dresses for Crystalia, and then Sebastian gets to be Crystalia at night and gets to be a bit more of himself. That can't last forever. There are burdens and obligations for both of them. Frances wants to be able to be a dressmaker who is like openly designing things under her own name and without hiding under the whole secrecy aspect of the Crystalia persona. And then on Sebastian's side, he's got a lot of pressures from his parents who want him to get engaged and be a bit more princely. As I'm sure you can tell from this description, the story feels very high stakes and emotional. There are some gorgeous illustrations of historical Paris, as well as a lot of dresses. It does feel a little bit unrealistic insofar as some of the dresses that you see on the page are a little bit too outrageous. Like, as an adult, you're reading it and you're thinking, that's not really possible, that's not really how history works. But it is still really engrossing as a story. I was reading it on my computer, which is not my preferred way of reading comics, but still I was tearing up in parts, laughing in others. I do think personally, for me and for the type of reader that I am, I probably would have enjoyed this just as much, if not more, if it had been a giant chunky novel with a lot of interiority given to the characters and a lot more time in their thoughts. But at the same time, I definitely wouldn't want to lose their fantastic illustrations. I want to be able to see the dress that Frances makes, even though you do look at them and you think, well, no one would have made that in turn of the century Paris and been able to wear it and get away with it. But it's fine because not everything has to be 100% historical. So all in all, it was really enjoyable. Not my favorite graphic novel ever, but I thought it really worked as a story. Next up, we've got A Sunbeam by Tillie Walden. This was originally published online as a webcomic, so that's how I read it. I saw it in a store and it's a really chunky book, and therefore it was quite expensive for being a very chunky graphic novel, so you can go and check it out online. I will put a link to it in the description box below. This is a beautiful science fiction story about a young woman called Mia who is taken on by the crew of the spaceship, the Sunbeam, to go and do archaeological work and reconstruction work with them. They basically go go around the galaxy to monuments and historical places and do rehabilitation and reconstruction work. It's very precise work, it's very steeped in history, and you see Mia starting to learn this work, and as she is starting to learn this work, you see flashbacks of her being in boarding school for a year. You see Mia arriving at this boarding school and struggling to fit in with the other students until a new girl arrives at the school who Mia befriends, and then very quickly they fall in love and start a relationship, and it is very, very sweet, but like in a bittersweet sort of way. This comic definitely made me cry. So you kind of see both Mia's life on the Sunbeam after that year at boarding school, and at the same time you've got another timeline of the story, and you see what happened at the boarding school to get Mia to the point that she is now, where she works on the Sunbeam and she's not in school anymore. This comic is so beautiful. The story is great and very emotional and made me cry, but the art itself is also really amazing. It feels really organic. Like a lot of other webcomics, it's got almost this like freedom to not be absolutely perfect all the time. Not that it looks bad, because it looks absolutely gorgeous, but it does have, like, I don't know, some kind of levity to it. I find it very difficult to describe art, so I'm gonna put some images of the art so that you can see what I mean. There are some really beautiful concepts in this book and in the art for this book. Especially, I love the spaceships in this world. They are fish, and they look very organic, and they make sense when you're reading the story, like in context. You 100% are buying the fish spaceship, and it's beautiful. I am now wanting to look up everything Tillie Walden's ever done and kind of follow her career and buy all of her other books if she has any, because this was amazing, and I'm really bummed that it didn't win the Hugo, because it was my favorite for graphic novel for the Hugos this year. And finally, we've got The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag. I was previously aware of Ostertag's work because she did illustrations for Strong Female Protagonist, a webcomic that I read and really enjoyed, so I was curious to see her writing as well as her illustrations in The Witch Boy. This is a young adult fantasy comic about Aster, the titular witch boy, and his family, in which all of the women are witches and all of the men are shapeshifter. And there's not really been anyone that's bucked this particular trend of your gender determining what type of magic you are able to do, except for one person, but we don't talk about him because he kind of went berserk and was never seen from again. And that is kind of the background in which Aster is desperate to learn witch's magic because he feels a calling to witch's magic. It feels right to him. He can do it. He's always trying to eavesdrop on the magic lessons that his sisters and the other girls in his family get to have, and he's not doing very well at trying to find his shapeshifter form by doing meditations in the forest with the other boys in his family. He's really struggling, and then a monster starts coming into their life and taking away some of the boys as they are learning to shapeshift. And Aster is starting to think maybe he can do something about it with his witch's magic. I really enjoyed this book. It went quite a bit darker than I thought it would. The monster in the woods was really creepy, and the way that it has to be taken down in the end, and like what turns out to be the catalyst for all of this. I don't want to give away any spoilers because I really enjoyed figuring out what was going on. I think the story worked really well as a little standalone adventures for them to have, although I do know that there is a sequel and I'm really interested in picking it up. They will explore one of the side characters who is introduced here who I really liked. Overall, I really enjoyed this. It didn't actually go in the direction that I expected it to, and and I really enjoyed that surprise. I read this pretty quickly, of course, because it's a relatively short graphic novel, finished it in one sitting, and really enjoyed the evening that I spent reading it. So if you're interested in this, I would say why not pick it up now when you might read it in October, the spookiest time of the year. I know I'll be picking up the sequel to read next month myself. So that's it. These were 3 mini reviews for graphic novels that I've read recently. Let me know how you feel about this kind of slightly different, not quite a review, not quite a wrap-up format, because I really enjoyed filming it and I would love to do more of these if you are all interested. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check out a previous video on screen right now. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button that's on my face for a new video from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.